thank you for listening to the Drums and Rums podcast. If you'd like to help support the podcast and our content on YouTube, become a Drums and Rums Patreon member, and please subscribe to the YouTube channel as we work to get towards 1,000 subscribers. Links are listed in the description of this episode. And thanks again for checking out this episode and all of our other past episodes. Hey all, it's Paul from Drums and Rums, where the backbeats meets the spirits. Rum friends are the best friends, right? Those are the best kinds you get to share your rums with. Try some new stuff. Don't break the bank, because again, everyone's sharing their rum. And today I've got Isabella Rosal, founder of the Tampa Bay Rum Society and owner of Seventh Sky Spirits, and Jim and Dawn Rainwater from Tampa Bay Rum Society. How you doing, guys?
Doing great.
Absolutely wonderful. Thank you.
So thanks for having us.
Yeah, no, I appreciate I know we're part of other societies too here in Florida. We're all Floridians, and so of course, other than drinking water, right, we usually are all drinking rum, right? So we are definitely we've got a lot of things in common here. So I know I'm on the East Coast of the state, and you guys on the West Coast, and we'll want to learn more about Tampa Bay Rum Society. I know I've been following you, Isabella, for a while, and I know we've met through other events here in Florida, and the Miami Rum Congress and Miami Renaissance, and so a lot of other events too. We've a good friend that I know who's was on our podcast. So shout out to Nia from my Rum Diaries there, so fellow rum lier. But let's kind of get started there. Let's just jump right in. What is the Tampa Bay Rum Society? I mean, okay, I think there's some obvious things there, right? But how was it founded? Why was it founded? Let's get down to the skinny here. So folks that are listening to this who may not know or want to learn more about rum, and they can come to Tampa, or if they live close by, is and join and hang out with you guys, learn more about rums and share some information and kind of educate people and so forth. So I don't know who wants to jump and take it there first.
Well, as far as from my point of view, the reason Bea and Dawn and myself got together is I personally feel rum is underappreciated. I mean, I work high end, and I'm a server at a very high end restaurant. I've been exposed to a lot of things for the last 40 years, and tequila's had its time, bourbon's had its time, and I really feel rum, and it's the number one selling spirit in Florida. It's just everybody thinks of rum as the lower end white stuff that we mix instead of that beautiful stuff you have sitting behind you. So how do we, as an organization, help rum and move the needle, not just on high end rum, but rum acceptance? We love all rum, and we want it all to grow as a spirit and grow, because it's Tampa. We have the Gasparilla Festival. We've had ties to Cuba since forever.
Yeah.
So
and for those that don't know, right, Ybor City, huge Cuban population there. They're still rolling cigars there, and that's how a lot of before 1959, 59, yeah, I think it was
15. And 15. But and it's funny you say that, because I'm headed down there now, and we're getting ready to have a rum and food pairing at a local gallery next month, and put a bunch of rums under one roof and connecting with the art scene. There'll be cigars to be had somewhere in that night as well. So
of course, right?
Has to happen.
And to add to add to Jim's story is pretty much, cut the long story short, how the three of us met. We don't even know each other, to be honest. Like, we knew each other because of that rum tasting for Ukraine that I did for my birthday last year. And they attended the event, and this was in Brandon. It was in a center place for the arts over there. And Jim and Dawn, they live, I'd say, 30, 40 minutes?
Yeah. It was in the burbs, and we live in the city. So
yeah. And it's crazy, because when I did that event, a couple months after, I get this email from them, and they're saying, we love what we do. And basically, Tampa Bay Rum Society is our mission is very simple: elevating rum, experience in the whole Tampa Bay area and beyond. Whether through the tastings, educations, the events. I mean, at the end of the day, we have to increase awareness and education for everybody to really appreciate it. And the good thing about it is even with Seven Sky, even if we work with a bunch of different brands across the events that we've had since last year, we are never really attached to a single brand or anything like that, because we want to make sure every single brand, producer, distillery is on a single footing. And in fact, when we do tastings, they're usually blind. So we just give everybody what bottle it is at the end of the whole event or on social media right after the fact. And I'm always surprised with, what the attendees are saying is good, like they ask us how much is that bottle. And I myself was like, oh, a lot of people like this price point. They think it's really, really good. And their surprise is just this much.
Right. And those that are and as you mentioned, Jim, right? It's already, we already know how popular it is, how much it's grown. But it's still that connotation of, I said, certain type of that are rums or call themselves rums. And I'm trying to be nice, right?
Yeah.
We have to be.
Right. And it's how it's crazy it is, the rum community, the rum market, business, etc., that it's like the Wild West. Everyone calls the rum world is like the Wild West, because everyone's got a little bit different take, and then of course different countries have different rules, and and so on and so forth. But yeah, two of the larger names, right, holds nearly 50% of the market, and because that's exactly it. It's very heavily market. So look,
And it's not a quality product either. It's just great marketing.
Very fair, very
Yeah.
fair. Yep. And in those that are like making good products or craft, and here, and especially in
Mhm.
Florida, right? It's hard to get the word out there. Things like this, things we do, you guys do, they kind of get people to kind of try something, try opportunity. Again, it's the taste. People are going to tell you what they like and what they don't like, and some people say maybe some people that make spirits may not really care, as long as they're selling stuff, right? So which
Right.
is a business plan too, right? But
Well, it's
Yeah,
got to
and
be part. It's got to be part of the plan at the end of the day. But
right,
it is.
pushing a better quality, and we invest our time heavily in the local distilleries as well, because we want to bring them along, because they don't get the kind of love that they need from the bigger distribution houses. We Our last tasting, we designed 4 cocktails for a 4-course meal, and everything we used was local.
Local, correct. In
And
fact, by the numbers, if I run numbers with all of our events, actually starting with, I'd say the December one was our first event as a Rum Society. 90% of our brands are local. So even if, like, for our event on September, we do have, how many did we confirm?
I
4?
think we're between
Local?
8. We're confirmed about 6, but I'm going to do some work
Yeah.
later. See more in.
And out of the 6, 4 are local
we got 4
already.
local,
Yeah.
and then 4 that everyone would recognize. It's a little bit of a rum nerd like the rest of us.
Yeah, and then it's crazy because we are always surprised on the effect that the events are actually having, because I don't know how many times you'll see local distilleries in one house for an event where everybody's just friends.
No,
And everybody is just happy to share about their brands and their creations, their histories, and
right.
you don't see that every day.
I think that is one of the coolest parts about, and I have, had a few of the Florida distillers here on the show over the 4 years. And, you're exactly right, is when it comes to the craft, there's enough for everybody, and everyone's okay with me. Some are okay with making, this is an honest living. It's give me an honest pay. I'm not going to be set out to be, a billionaire, but I'm okay with, what I have,
everybody wants to get bought by Seagrams, but that won't always happen.
Yeah,
You know, at the end of the day.
that is very. So Jim, I would say this on most of the people that I've talked to that range from, and again, if you've listened, those that listen to the podcast over the since 2020 when I started, I kind of evolved a little bit in the conversation where, again, it's like this: what's your story? Tell me your story. I'm not gonna. It's unbiased. I'm either way. And just here's your opportunity to tell your story and have a conversation. So, a lot of businesses that have come on or rum companies, and then some approach different. Like I said, it's a different business plan. Maybe you want to be a distiller and that's what you want to produce. Some are just into I have a product that somebody makes for me and I'm selling it and I'm marketing it. And there's quite a few. Yeah, you're right. I find that those that actually don't have the distillery seem to be the ones who are okay and are really seeking that out, would rather just, again, sign me the check. I turn my product over to you and et cetera. But those that own a distillery, there's a craft aspect of, because they're making something, right? So yeah, it's interesting. I'm sure we all like that check from Seagram's, right?
Right. No, but I think it is kind of a love project with a lot of distillers, because if you're gonna make money at it, it's a long game and it's a hard game and it's an expensive game. So, you have to do it for love at a point, because you're not you're, the balance sheets don't work out,
Right. At the end of the day, this isn't for charity. I think that's a lot of people
Exactly.
do have to realize that, even though everyone's in the rum world, or look, it's in any business world for that matter. And, as I'm, one of the things, yes, do I have a day job? Yes. Would I like to get some type of sponsorship, advertising, etc.? Sure, because it's fun and all, but there's other things that did go into it. So yeah, so that's great. So you mentioned there's this how you guys met was the event, a rum and food pairing event, and in the
rum tasting for Ukraine last year for my birthday. Yeah, because usually on my birthday I don't do parties. I just do things like that for I don't know, charities or whatever. And last year I'm like, you know what? Let's do this. So and Katya, our PR manager, is Ukrainian. So it's definitely more personal rather than, again, there's passion in there rather than just, thinking about of all the countries, why not Philippines? Because I'm Filipino.
Yeah.
But why Ukraine at that point, So
yeah, right. Yeah, whenever there's
that's where we met.
Yeah. Whenever there's a personal tie to it, then definitely for sure.
Yeah.
So, and then 3 months later, we sat and had lunch, and just the idea became organic, pretty much. With it, because Isabella is very well connected internationally in the rum scene, and Dawn and myself have worked in this area in high end for so long in restaurants. We're very well connected in the city of Tampa. Anything you want to say? Because go ahead, baby.
So, like I said, just meeting and thinking about what we can do to promote rum in the area, with both Jim and I in the hospitality business for so many years and knowing so many people. And meeting Isabella was just absolute serendipity.
Yep.
Now we're planning events together.
That's it. That's perfect. And that's the great part is it's all I a lot of the things that I talk about is how all of this is all intertwined between, obviously, because of the music aspect. I know I'm not a normal rum podcast like some get totally nerdy, but again, it's always usually the story. And with obviously the rum and the music aspect of things is, really focused on, obviously going through the pandemic and doing a podcast during the pandemic, and how all of this is all interconnected. You close restaurants, close down. Okay, there goes restaurants. If you don't have restaurants and bars that have music, okay, then now the musicians are now, that's impacting them. Those restaurants that are closed are impacting sales. Initially, I know the state made it, what do they call that? A need to have necessity. Alcohol was a necessity, right? The governor signed.
Probably was.
Essential. That was. Yeah, that's right.
Essential. There we go.
That's right. Essential. Yeah, liquor stores were essential businesses during the pandemic.
We got lucky though.
True story.
Yes. So all of those things are connected. Like as you mentioned, right? You have spirits, you have good products. It's tied to the restaurants, and it's great to be able to kind of leverage those connections across because it seems like it's a perfect fit for what you guys have. Is you're able to kind of leverage all those things to get things into the market. I'm sure some of that, Isabella, is the opportunity to bring maybe some brands in, and then there's an opportunity to kind of try to into the restaurant, connections that
Mhm.
Jim and Dawn have. So,
And it's crazy that you said that because since we are so focused with local, I do have the license for export, and in fact, our focus is exporting our craft distillers over here in Tampa. And the best part about this whole relationship that the Rainwaters and I had was each and everybody has their own niche. Like I learned a lot from them, like knowing they've been in the industry for I'm pretty sure before I was even born, you know. So I'm learning so much from about clothes, you know, and I'm learning so much from them. And with Dawn, like you can see her, she's quiet and everything, but oh my goodness, like for every single event, I don't know if people know this, maybe this is a good time to drop it. Every single event, she curates special cocktails every single time. So if people like, I was telling them at one point, man, we gotta create a book and sell that menu book, recipe book, once we have so much, because now we have at least 7 to 10 different recipes that she curated for the past events since December, and everything is unique.
Cool.
You can't have that. You can't find that every day.
And the last event was all local products.
Yes.
4 drinks with local products. I mean,
Yeah.
It was a good time.
I really love that, and being that, being a Floridian, right, as we already all stated that we all are. It's, we talk about this whole thing about support local support, again, a lot of it is just a catchphrase that, we just like to, people like to say it, but actually doing it, right? Because again, this is all helps it's all interconnected, right? The businesses are all, you don't want to see business going out of business. The taxes go into, I mean, it's a bigger picture kind of thing. So totally love the fact that there's a lot of presence because I'm very interested in that. I know there's, if you've, hopefully you've done your homework, you did at least check out maybe 1 or 2 of the episodes because there's a segment at the end that you guys are gonna have to go through. So I won't give it away too much. But that's one of the hint. I'll give you a little pre. There's something tied to that Florida rum question there. So towards the end, so no pressure now. But I mean that's great because I know speaking with not too long after. I think when they changed the rules about distilleries and what they can sell on premise,
Yeah,
people don't
have like 2021, maybe something like that around there.
Yep.
I'm thinking.
it is.
And people just did not have, when you explain to the normal person that's not, in this world like we are, they're like, what you mean you can't sell your product? It's like it's produced here. They can't sell it here. They can make no money from it because of this whole system.
Well, and our 3-tier system of distribution here in Florida, they would consume the local products and they'll and I see it happen. They take that local product and then it's sitting on the shelf in an office in a restaurant and they're telling the distiller they have placement. They don't have placement. They're sitting on a shelf. And for that small guy, the second and third placement is the one that matters. You getting them in the door doesn't matter. That repeat business, that's how they build. And that 3-tier system doesn't give them any love.
Right.
Yeah. And we have to explain that, to a lot of people, especially on my end, on Seven Sky, which is the trade side, that entity has all the licenses, both import and export, and I had to explain a lot the difference between where I am at on the tiers, especially even with the export. Like I'm surprised even myself that I had to explain that no, I can sell to duty free. No, we can bring your bottles to duty free. And at the end of the day, not a lot of distilleries can see themselves in the long game. I can pinpoint who are actually, prepared or who was doing steps for it. And on the back end of it, they know, like, if I'm working with you on that, you know how much work I'm actually doing just to get our local brands out there, even to the point of, asking help from our local officials, elected officials, requesting for support from the city. I go that length because I feel like it's the only way for them to really look at them,
Right.
and a lot of them don't have that budget, and that's where I'm at. Like, I'm more of that boutique person, and having Tampa Bay Rum Society back up all those events, without fee. I'm just trying to be there to sell your bottles or for you to buy from me, whatever. No, that's not how it works. We don't even sell bottles in the Rum Society. I can't even sell a bottle to you, in Seventh Sky, because I can only deal with the businesses. I can't deal with an individual.
Right. It's not retail. Right. You're not
correct
in the space. Right. Right. So
yeah.
So what Isabella's talking about is she's got something in the works with the Tampa International, trying to set up a duty-free shop in Tampa International, keying on many of the local products and getting through all the subtle and not so subtle nuances of navigating bureaucracy. Pretty much it's and Bea travels a lot, so there's other countries, in the airports you have these big beautiful, in duty free, and we need one. And she's filling that niche, doing all that, the hard work.
I didn't.
A year already.
I didn't.
A year.
I would have thought Tampa would international airport would have had. I mean, it's fairly no.
No. That was my whole positioning with the airport. So we are getting as close as we can a year after. We're getting closer as we can, and I'm getting more aggressive this year because now we hit more than 2 years in business, and a lot of them ask for, how old is the company and all that good stuff. At the end of the day, it's all about, the numbers behind your company, if you are credible enough and whatever.
Right.
But I mean, it's been more than a year and we're getting closer as we can. And so I can tell everybody, like, I'll keep working on it. I'm not giving up on it. So
go ahead, Jim.
She'll make it happen.
One day it will come out.
Is the airport operated or run by the county?
No.
Okay, so here
they are their own authority. Yeah.
So here, I mean, yeah, there's a time. I'm not quite up on how, but I know there's a, real tie-in with Palm Beach County. Palm Beach County, either maybe they operate or they're the overseer. So I'm sure trying to navigate through that whole process is like
it's a lot.
Where do you start, right? Who do you need to talk to, and who needs to make it happen, and it's almost to a certain extent it's like should just be just another business that's in the store there, right? Even though it's a little bit different nuances, obviously, because of the duty free aspect of it. So, but that's great. I mean, those that are flying in and out of Tampa, I mean, I don't know, Isabella. It is, I'm sure, and I'm sure you've probably already done this. So is definitely somebody in Tallahassee, right, to help that, because again, it's promoting tourism, it's promoting Florida first, all these things that we were talking about again about local.
Correct. And so far, I mean, the latest developments, which is as fresh as this morning, we finally got a hold of somebody who are in charge of the decision makers of the actual stores in the airport. We are already there in that door.
Oh, great.
So yes, as of this morning. So, I mean, I'm not resting just because I already got introduced to that. No, it doesn't stop there. I have to keep going with, our city elected officials, with the county elected officials, anybody who can support the cause, because I went all the way up to Tallahassee, and everybody has their own different views. At the end of the day, it's just got to keep telling your story until you get the point across. And that's why we're here, pretty much.
Yeah, no, yeah, for sure. Because as you know, it's, as I always tell, again, there's always, I'm sure wherever there might be that resistance, the question should always be why. Follow the money, right? Because that's what it all comes down to, right? It's,
And
Always.
Yeah.
every brand, that I spoke with, before I added them on the list of this is who we are promoting locally on the export, right? I definitely had that, one-on-one conversation with them, like, listen, you have to be ready with the worst case scenario. It could be a cutthroat pricing. It could be anything, because we don't know what they're going to ask from you and all that good stuff. But as long as you tell me you're ready, you're in it for the risk, then I'll add you on the list.
Right. Yeah,
So,
that's a good point, right? Is we have no idea what the deal is up, what they're going to be asking for, right? So it's it could be, yes, you can do it, but here's what it is, right? So, so Dawn, mixology, where do you how'd you come about?
what's the story?
In Florida, and I've been in the hospitality industry for, like Jim said, 40 years now. My parents owned a bar, grew up in the bar business already, and just went into hospitality, high end, worked for Ritz-Carlton, Capital Grill for several others, and always been bartending and cooking. So I'm always creating something in my head.
Yeah.
That's why you're looking at my refrigerator, because the other side's my counter and I've got something major going on there.
She's making a homemade Nutella because she's making cannoli. She's making a homemade Nutella to make a Nutella flavored cannoli.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I was developing something.
This is all part of the rum pairing, right?
Actually,
honestly, it will be the one we're doing one in September. There's going to be
The one on the 14th. Yeah, I sent him the creatives for Brush and Barrels for the 14th.
Yeah.
So,
and a very rum heavy tiramisu.
oh, there we go.
Oh boy. So we're getting all sorts of breaking news here on this episode,
We honor.
the airport, upcoming events here. So
And we're going to have 2 different punch bowls and a custom cocktail
okay.
too. So I'm working very heavily over the next 3 weeks.
So and at least I'd say at least under one roof with reps from probably 3/4 of them. Isabella and I'll fill in the gaps if we can't get a rep somewhere.
Okay.
So
it
will be awesome.
Yeah. No, I like I said, I love this aspect that is about Florida, from some of the, again, I've talked to different, and I'll talk to you maybe offline, Isabella, there's I don't know, hopefully I won't say too much, but they posted on social media there was a smaller craft rum company that was, I guess, had to kind of cease production on their rum, and it was to do with supplies, and lack of volume, I guess, is really what it is. So I don't know. Like I said, I'm not say too much, but maybe I kind of pick your brain.
The cost of the bottle alone can be very, very hard on a small distillery because the bottle costs more than the rum.
Yeah.
The bottle and all that kits the rum doesn't cost. I mean, once you got the steel and you got everything in the back, you're good.
Right.
But the glass, during COVID, I was working for a distillery. There were times we would be almost out of bottles. We never ran out, but other distilleries were because you couldn't get bottles.
Right.
So yeah, and if you can't afford bottles on top of it because you're not making enough revenue. So I mean, the smallest thing could put if you can't afford your label,
Yeah, and logistics, times 5 already at some point, because even when I send out stuff already bottled, they're like, wait, what? How come that's the cost of the logistics just from here to Canada? Yeah. I'm like, well, man, I'm sorry, but that's the best I can do for you. I mean,
yeah.
Every time somebody touches it, it costs money.
Right.
Yeah.
And look at again, this isn't charity. It is a business.
Exactly.
So you're like everywhere else, like you're just passing the cost along to the consumer. I mean, because so I know it's tough, to kind of, as a consumer, kind of, you have to have to get the fact that it's going to cost some money to get something, but at the same time, it's like look at the whole from here to here.
Mm-hmm.
Like you said, Jim, right? It's a lot of hands to touch it means that somebody's is getting some money from it, right? For whatever the reason. So, but yeah, that's like I said, everything from mid-size distilleries here in Florida, on the East Coast and on the West Coast here, to some that are do some contract distilling, smaller micro companies that are starting up here, which is great. It's a great time to be in it. Yeah. So Anyway, so the event that you mentioned there, right, coming up on September 14th. So let's talk a little bit about that because obviously, that's this is something we definitely want to make sure we're promoting.
That is, to me, it's going to be Don and I in particular. We're very tied into the art scene here. We have are really they're our family basically. But we've known a local Dominican artist for the last 15, 20 years. He's coming up, and him and his wife, they own a really nice gallery in Ybor, and they've been open about a year, and we're just trying to tie all it, just like everything else, to create the synergy you were talking about earlier, tie the rum together, tie the art together, and then we all make a bigger footprint and create more opportunities together. It's
Yeah.
At the end of the day,
Right. Yeah. We all gotta all work together to, it's tough doing things by yourself, right? And you have a team, that believes and into the same things. It makes things so much easier. What do they say?
collaboration beats competition all day long.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be a big team.
Right.
But if that little team right here, we're happy. I'm happy.
We'll get bigger.
I heard somebody say the other day was like, we might be small, but we're mighty.
Yeah, small but terrible.
Yeah.
Small and mighty.
So, Isabella, let's talk about here. You mentioned you're Filipino, and the first rum event that I went to was two, three, I don't know how many years ago now. And, I was introduced by Tanway and, saw the more I kind of looked into, said, it's like one of those, never heard of these guys before until, you see, and then of course it's like, holy shit, they're like everywhere. And then I've talked before on the podcast about people that have probably the bottles are out there. People, it's in a lot of the, big box stores, but of course nobody knows about them. But then it's like, I tell people, said, these guys are bigger than
what you're thinking. Bigger than Bacardi's.
I was stopping short if I was going to say the B word or not, but I mean, since I end way,
it's hard.
We all been avoiding that word.
Yeah, but honestly, it's facts. I'm sorry, but we're stating facts over here. I mean, they surpassed the sales last year alone. They're the highest. They have the biggest sales globally. Surprisingly, everybody's surprised about it. Like they don't even know about it. And in fact, they are one of our brands that said they want to be part of it on September 14th. I mean, grew up in a sugarcane farm. That's how I was born and raised, in a sugarcane farm. My mom is still in the distillery industry back home after, I don't know, X amount of retirements. They just kept calling her, because they needed her expertise. She's a chemist. She also
is brilliant. She is brilliant.
Ask her about how to make rum in 20 seconds. She can give it to you. That's how crazy it is. I mean, when everybody asks me, how did I get into rum? And when I start telling them I'm a sugar baby, I was born and raised in a sugarcane farm. We never sold the sugarcane farm until my last brother actually finished college. That's when they sold, because I guess the mission of that farm is done. We've been provided for. We've got what they needed, and everything is just, I guess, retirement from there on.
It's crazy I'm telling you something, guys, you don't know. Again, this is Tampa Bay Rum Societies and other societies, throughout the country and the world. It's about the education and information and, yes, there's rum that's not just the Caribbean. right? Like we said, it's not just Florida, even, right? I mean, that's even a thing about people that live here. It's a lot of it is foundational on very similar processes and distilling methods and the same equipment. Yes, you can make rum anywhere in the world, but the majority of that source material is coming from a certain part of the world.
Correct.
So
Tropics in some way.
right. So like I said, I would very early on in my rum journey that I discovered 10 Way and was like, oh, okay. And then was like, yeah, this is pretty good. I love the gold, right? But then more deeper dive into it, it's like, well, shoot, they were big sponsors of the NBA. And and all of a sudden
Yeah.
that's like now I know the name. It's like one of those, oh, I see them everywhere now. And then that's it's pretty crazy.
Yeah, it's really pretty cool that, that's something that's been really fun for me because, I really didn't get into rum until about 5 years. The distillery all through COVID and really just fell in love with rum. But meeting Isabella has been just so eye-opening because I know a little bit, but
You know a lot.
she's a Ramoyer, and then when she turned me on to Tanduay, I'm like, really? And they move more units than the B company, almost by two. It's insane. They own Asia.
Right.
And they don't have the same variants, that we have in the country and versus what we have here internationally. And it's crazy because if you say the brand in the country, in the Philippines, it's a different perspective. And if you say the brand over here internationally, it's a different thing. It's almost the same thing as same effect of Don Papa. Although everybody knows Don Papa, I think is Filipino brand. I think everybody has that recognition. But I believe they are bigger in Europe versus in the Philippines. And it's crazy because last year I did a project in the Philippines, a rum project, and it's connected to my hometown distillery as well, which is the only single estate in the country. Lo and behold, I'm just saying, we know these big brands all over the world. You'll never know where they buy. And I'm surprised to even, be let in that information that all these bigger blending houses, distilleries are actually buying from my hometown distillery from, I don't know, even before I was even born. But it's only a few years ago that my hometown distillery decided to have their own brand.
But so they've always outsourced before,
right.
and now they're selling their own product.
Right.
So yeah.
Right, because it's almost like it's the same thing that I always say. I've probably taken the information for granted because I grew up with it. Like, why would I even think that I'm gonna be back in this industry, or at least in the sugarcane industry in general? 30 plus years after. Heck, the sugarcane stalk is just behind my house. Like, we cut it and chew it. That's how I grew up with it. And I feel like it's the same thing about every single farmer that we had back home. Like, all they know is we harvest, we put it on the grinders, then they become an actual sugarcane crystal, which is either white or brown. Call it a day. Nobody really thinks about something else because that's what they're used to.
Right.
So
yeah,
crazy.
I guess that's the kind of the interesting thing about, right, is where is some that are, made, blended by, not that, the company that names on the bottle or the brand. And yeah, so like a lot of people may be starting up, they'll go to a particular place in Panama, right? And I'm sure we kind of know the story there, right? Is a lot of people go to Panama for a particular company that makes a lot of rum for other people's, right? So a lot of brands come out of this one distillery. And to your point, Isabella, comes out of, in that distillery in the Philippines. So I think that's kind of an interesting thing. The more deeper dive people want to get into it. And I'm sure, definitely, I know we can't have a rum podcast and talk about the aspects of, the big push now about transparency. Right. And I'm going to kind of, again, I'm trying to be very kind of open to be very unbiased to this. It is a very difficult thing. It's one of those things, what you guys do in the Tampa Bay Rum Society is, like we said, it's educate. not be pushy about it, because again, some people are very stuck on the other big company, right? The CM company, which is fine, right? That's perfectly, but that's what they know, and that's what they're,
Mhm.
that's all they're happy with. And so I think that
Mhm.
sometimes it's that challenge, right, Jim, is you know, you're talking about, you're trying to educate people to try some better, little better product and
Mhm.
you know, quality, premium stuff. At the end of the day, people, you know, it's my podcast, so I'm not gonna have to ask if I can curse them. People don't give a shit, right? And that's a tough part, and that's okay, right? You can't. It is what they, whatever they like. So I know there's a challenge to that, you know, when you're saying, look, you got, there's something better, but now this is what I want. And again, that
Yeah,
probably
but
gets,
I
yeah, yeah,
I I met a guy recently, did a tasting for a JM Agricole 10 days ago, 2 weeks ago, and I met a guy. You may have ran across him, Handsome Alex. He calls himself a rum evangelist, and we were just talking, and he was a wealth of information. But something he brought to my attention, I really, man, I'm a history nerd. That with when after and during the Revolutionary War, rum was viewed as British. We still have that residual thing here in America that we're going to drink bourbon, we're going to drink American whiskey. George Washington made rum on his estate. you know, and until the British started taxing us for it, and then we got a bad taste in our mouth, it's never came back from that time but rum ages better than whiskey. It starts to get good at 6 years. Whiskey, I think, caps out at 6 years.
interesting.
It's a much better product. It's hard to it's hard to teach people that rum's always been here. It was
Yeah,
here before bourbon. you
yeah,
know.
yeah,
Mhm.
for sure. And to those that think that, you know, when you tell an American, or you know, or somebody here that lives in the U.S. that's does not have any idea about the rest of the world, it comes to that and saying, "Oh, in Europe, Europe is huge with rum." I mean, you know, and I had done a live stream walkthrough with Nud Strain, you know, mobile rum, and you know, he walked through it. He took his, basically like this. We zoomed through live the Paris Rum Festival,
Mhm.
walking through, and I was like, "Wow, that is insane!" You know, the people that are there,
Mhm.
and you know, and see, yeah, it's huge, you know, all over. Again, we live in this country, so sometimes, as we know, right, we're kind of like this, and we don't, hey, right,
Yeah.
Pro-
And I
pro-
think that's how we are, trying to bridge the gap
Mhm.
on all of our events. Like we know we try to push local, but at the same time we also bring in, the brands that everybody's familiar to. And then that blind tasting factor, that's where I'm always like, we gotta do it every time.
Yeah, yeah,
Because they don't know what they're drinking.
right, and again, I think that kind of really helps. Again, is with the promoting of Florida is when people find out, oh, this is pretty good. Oh, did you know that this is a Florida company? And
Mm-hmm.
challenge though is the distribution, getting in the stores, right? And then being able to say, all right, the distillery up here in some the panhandle of Florida.
Mm-hmm.
Love this stuff, but I can't get my hands on it because I live down in South Florida. It's crazy, right? I mean,
Mm-hmm.
Florida
Mm-hmm.
Florida is actually two states, right? We all know that, right? We all, I think, agree.
Yeah, there's north of Orlando.
Right. You're right. Yes.
Yeah, and right now there's a big push with e-commerce. So, in fact, on the event on the 14th, I was encouraging them, if they have an e-commerce platform, bring it with them on the event
Yeah.
because we can't sell the bottles for them, but if they can't find a way to bring it with them,
Right.
it's on them.
Yep.
E-commerce is the way around everything. Just have to figure out how to utilize it.
Right.
Mhm.
Right. Yeah. And I know it's, you got to go through others to help broker stuff and whatnot. So, but no, very, very cool. I want to be respectful of the time here. So we're definitely going to wrap up and go through our segment here. So we're going to hit you guys up with some of the rapid fire. So no, it's a, you know, this is the segment is what we call
in 4 sips or less.
So I'll go and I'll ask all three of you the same question, and then we'll go from there. So, in 4 sips or less, neat or on ice? Isabella?
Big cube.
Cube. Okay, got a cube from Jim.
Ice,
Ice. Okay.
just a little.
Neat all the way.
Oh.
I don't know. It's because of that 100+.
I did have actually somebody said I should have had a third option was a chilled glass. I said, okay, that's
I can
not-
rock that too.
yeah.
I
Exactly.
don't know.
So that's actually not bad. So, all right. So in 4 sips or less, as we've talked about a lot about Florida rum, do you think Florida rums get a fair shake?
Yeah, no.
No.
I mean, based on my effort, they're not getting their fair shake, but I want them to have that fair
Right.
shake.
And
Yep.
we want to them. to
Yes.
get
Yes.
Yes, we want them.
Excellent. So again, so that was our little rapid fire segment there. I know we had, and then so again, that's why part of that questionnaire there. Again, we've got our now you are part of the Rums and
Yay.
Rums and alums there. So,
Right on, brother.
yeah, so there you go. So now you become part of the family there. So we've got some different guests. You know, that's our tagline there, where the backbeats meets the spirits, and yeah, guests from all over the world, and Australia and Singapore. We've had guests on and musicians and so forth. So I've it's been a very interesting journey to I love. My wife said I'll talk to the wall, right? I just like talking, I guess, and that's why podcasting it took such a good hold. So what interesting note before we kind of wrap up, Isabel, is so my wife is I guess she's not Filipino, but when we before we had passports, we went on a cruise and she's like, I got to take my birth certificates with me to prove, right, that whatever. She's like, which ones do I take? I have one from the her father was stationed in the base. That's no longer there, right? So
In Clark? Is it in Clark?
Yep. And so she's like, she got a birth certificate from the Philippines, a birth certificate from the Air Force, to the Secretary of State or whatever. So she got mad when I said, well, if they don't take you, I guess I'll just have to leave and go on this trip without you, and she wasn't happy about that. But so when I tell people, it's like, yeah, I'm married to a Filipino, and they're like, they look at her and they're like, she's got to be the whitest Filipino. but yeah, her family was over there when she was born and at the base and so forth. So it's kind of interesting. So
I'm 45 minutes away from there. I live 45 minutes away from there. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. So she hasn't been back since she was obviously a little infant and came to the U.S. But yeah, so kind of an interesting thing. Talk back to the conversation about the Filipino rum there with Handaway. So okay, so this is definitely the last part here. So what is the shameless plugs here, right? What is this that you want people to know? Make sure they get out the word. I know we have the event coming up there. So here you go, shameless plugs, whatever you want to plug.
I'd like to shamelessly plug Marcolina's Fine Arts Gallery in Ybor City. That's where we're holding the event there, and we'd love to see them move forward and be in our umbrella going forward. And that's my shamelessness.
Okay.
I'd say follow our Instagram handle at Tampa Bay Rum Society, and then they'll see all of those tagged in our events. They'll see Marcolina's gallery on Instagram. They'll see Jim on Instagram. They'll see Dawn on Instagram. They'll see me on Instagram. I think that's the best way to do it. Just follow Tampa Bay Rum Society Facebook and IG, and we'll all get connected from there.
Perfect. So definitely, I appreciate you guys for tuning in, hanging out here with me tonight, talking about obviously rum, right? Learning more about the Tampa Bay Rum Society and upcoming events, and just kind of talking Florida rum in general, as we all are Floridians here. So I want to thank Isabella, Jim, Dawn for coming on the podcast here, Tampa Bay Rum Society. So make sure you check out the podcast when we drop this and the videos, and again, like Isabella said, social media, you'll find us out there, drumsandrubs.com, and you'll find us out there. And so I definitely appreciate the conversation here tonight. So this is Paul. This is where the backbeats meets the spirits. Cheers, y'all.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Greatly appreciate. Cheers.